After studying this module, you shall be able to understand clearly the concept of production with two variable inputs, what are isoquants, the concept of marginal rate of technical substitution, which is also known as MRTS, the meaning of returns to scale, the concept of iso-cost line, the least cost or optimal combination of inputs, the concept of a firm's expansion path. In the previous module, we have discussed in detail the production process of a firm produce. So far, we dealt with the fundamental of the theory of production with only one variable input. In this module, we will discuss the decision of a firm involving the changes in the level of all inputs used in the production process. In other words, all inputs are considered to be variable, and now we introduce the concept of the changes in the scale of operation. We will see that if a firm wishes to increase its scale of production, for example by creating a larger production capacity, its decision will be driven by the considerations of economies of scale. In the analysis of production set forth in this module, all the inputs are variable. Typically, this is referred as the long run production, as in the long run, no inputs can remain fixed and firms can decide to scale up or reduce all inputs of production. In what follows, we first consider the effects of a change in the inputs that were fixed in the short run. This is followed by a discussion on the long run production decision with two variable inputs. Here, we introduce the concept of the isoquant and learn about the implications of the MRTS or the slope of the isoquant. The next section discusses the concept of returns to scale, and thereafter we bring in the cost considerations and introduce the concept of iso-cost curves. In this context, we discuss the optimal combination of inputs used by a firm, and finally we define the concept of a firm's expansion path. Changes in fixed inputs. In the previous modules, we saw that in the short run, fixed inputs do not change along the firm's total product curve. Table 1 gives the short run output level of a firm that uses two inputs, labor and capital, and where the fixed input capital is initially fixed at K star is equals to 2. However, note that when the amount of capital used is increased, total product increases at each level of labor usage. Also, since total product increases, the associated average product and marginal product also change at every labor unit with a change in the level of the fixed input. This is depicted in table 1 below. Table 1. Changes in the total product, average product and marginal product when the units of capital changes. Notice in table 1, when capital increases from 2 to 3 units, the total product of two workers increases from 112 to 162, and if capital is further increased to 4, the total product increased to 198. Graphically, the total product curve shifts upward with an increase in the unit of capital employed. This is given in figure 1a. In this case, the associated shifts in the average product and the marginal product curves are depicted in figure 1b. Figure 1a and 1b. Shift in total product, average product and marginal product curves when capital changes. So far from the above discussion, it is clear that changing a fixed input could cause shift in the TP, AP and MP schedules that we had discussed in detail in the two previous modules. The next is production theory with two variable inputs. The following discussion may be viewed as long run production decision that involve changing the level of all inputs, including those that were fixed in the short run. Alternatively, this can be viewed as short run analysis of production decision involving two variable inputs. Isoquants. When a firm uses two variable inputs, we use the concept of an isoquant to analyze the production decision involved. If we look back at table 1, we will find the maximum level of output that can be produced using different combinations of labor and capital. We also find that certain output level can be produced using different combinations of capital and labor. For example, 108 units of output can be produced with a combination of K1 and labor 4, as well as with K is equals to 6 and L is equals to 1. Similarly, 224 units of output can be produced with K is equals to 2 and L is equals to 4, as well as with K is equals to 5 and L is equals to 2. There can be many more combinations of K and L that can be used to produce 108 units of output. If we plot the different combinations of K and L that can be used to produce the same level of output, we will get a downward sloping curve, and this is known as isoquant. Isoquant is a curve showing all possible combinations of two inputs that can be used for producing a certain specific level of output. At each point on the isoquant, technical efficiency is achieved. That is, it gives the maximum possible output associated with a given input combination. Figure 2 provides a graphical representation of an isoquant. Note that the two inputs are measured along the two axes. In figure 2, there are two isoquants, Q1 and Q2. Q1 shows all combinations of inputs that can be used to produce 224 units of output. Similarly, Q2 shows all combinations of inputs capable of producing 350 units of output. Note that a higher isoquant represents a higher output level. Also note that isoquants cannot intersect. That is, each capital labor combination corresponds to only to a single isoquant. The two isoquants depicted in figure above are only two out of infinite number of isoquants that can be drawn showing different possible output levels and the corresponding input combinations. A group of many isoquants is called as isoquant map. Properties of isoquant. A. Isoquant slope downwards. The isoquant slope downward from left to right. This means that in order to produce Q star level of output, a certain level of K and L are used. It is assumed that the marginal product of both K and L is positive. Now, if the quantity of K is increased, then less of L will be used for producing the same level of output. In general, if one input is increased, then the other would be reduced along a given isoquant, as the level of output produced remains the same along the isoquant. B. Isoquants that represents a given production function or the same technology embodied in the production function do not intersect. If two isoquants intersect, we can show that this would lead to a contradiction. Suppose there are two intersecting isoquants as shown in figure 3 above. Then there would be 2 points M and N that contradict the basic definition of isoquant, since they lie on the same isoquant. M represents the same level of output as P, but P and N also lie on the same isoquant. So, the output level at N is the same as that at P. This implies that output at M and N are equal, so that they should lie on the same isoquant. However, it can be seen clearly from figure 3 that M and N lie on different isoquants. So, the level of output at M and N cannot be the same, as this leads to a contradiction, thereby showing that two isoquants cannot intersect. C. A higher isoquant represents a higher output level. Since more of inputs lead to more output, hence higher isoquants that lie farther from the origin represents a higher level of output. The input combination that produce Q dash in figure 4 represents more of labor for any given K and more of K for any given L. so that the output Q dash is greater than Q and the isoquant for Q dash lies above and to the right of the isoquant for Q. D. Isoquants are always convex to origin. Isoquants are convex to origin owing to the property of diminishing returns to inputs. As more and more of L is substituted for K, holding output the same, the marginal product of labor declines and more labor therefore is required for a given reduction in K to hold the output level unchanged along the isoquant. We will now examine an important property of isoquants, viz. And their slope, and understand more clearly the relation between marginal product and its impact on the shape of the isoquant. The next is marginal rate of technical substitution. We see that isoquants slope downward from left to right. The negative slope signifies that if a firm decreases the amount of capital employed, more number of labor units must be employed in order to keep the output constant. Similarly, if labor units are reduced, then more capital has to be employed in order to keep output constant. This simply says that K and L can be substituted for one another to maintain a constant level of output. The slope of the isoquant measures the rate at which these inputs can be substituted for each other along an isoquant, and this is known as the marginal rate of technical substitution, which is also known as MRTS. Mathematically, it is given by MRTS is equals to minus change in K by change in L. This is given as equation 1. The minus sign is added to make the MRTS positive, since change in K by change in L is always negative because of the slope of isoquant. It is important here to know that MRTS diminishes as we move from left to right along an isoquant. As more and more labor is substituted for capital while holding the output constant, the absolute value of change in K by change in L falls. Suppose we begin from the top left of an isoquant where capital is plentiful relative to the labor and move downwards, reducing the capital by 1 unit and substituting it with 0.5 units of labor to hold the output constant. At this point, MRTS is equals to 1 by 0.5, which is equals to 2. However, as we keep reducing capital and substituting it with labor, capital becomes scarce and labor becomes plentiful, lowering the MP of L and increasing the MP of K. So, now a unit reduction in K will have to be substituted for by more of L than before. So, 1.5 unit increase in L will be needed to hold the output constant as K is reduced further by 1 unit. Therefore, now the MRTS will be equals to 1 by 1.5, which is equals to 0.66, showing that MRTS declines along an isoquant as labor increases and capital decreases. MRTS for labor and capital is the absolute value of the slope of the isoquant. It reflects the rate at which a firm must replace one input by another along an isoquant so as to hold the total output level constant. Marginal rate of technical substitution and marginal products. We will now show how MRTS of labor and capital relates to the marginal product of labor and capital. We see that output Q is constant along the isoquant and change in Q is 0 for any change in K and L as we move along an isoquant. Note that when K is allowed to vary slightly, that is change in K, there would be a change in the output amounting to MPK, that is change in K. Similarly, for a small change in L, that is change in L, output would change by MPL, that is change in L. So, a change in output that results from a small change in both K and L would be equals to the sum of the marginal product of labor times the amount of change in labor and marginal product of capital times the amount of change in capital, as shown in the following equation. change in Q is equals to MPL into change in L plus MPK into change in K. This is given as equation 2. Now, along an isoquant, change in output is 0. This implies solving the above equation for change in Q is equals to 0, we get the following. Minus change in K by change in L is equals to MRTS is equals to MPL by MPK. This is given as equation 3. Relation between MRTS and marginal product. MRTS is equals to the ratio of the marginal product of the two inputs. Now this relation clearly explains the reason for diminishing MRTS. Two forces that are working to diminish the marginal product of labor as we move down an isoquant. First, as more and more labor is used, this leads to diminishing marginal product of labor, movement along the MPL curve, and second, as more of labor is used, this leads to a reduction in capital so that the MPL curve itself shifts downwards. At the same time, as we move down the isoquant, less of capital is used and the marginal product of capital increases, leading to a rise in MPK. Combining these two conditions, that is fall in MPL and rise in MPK, leads to the fall in MPL by MPK. MRTS for labor and capital declines as we move down an isoquant for production using two inputs, labor and capital, as we move from left to right. The next section is returns to scale. Typically, we find that markets are served by different combinations of small firms and large firms. Often, large producers in a market can produce at low unit cost owing to the advantages of larger scale of production, while in comparison, small producers face higher unit cost and have a hard time competing. Economists examine whether large firms are more efficient by focusing on returns to scale. Consider a firm that uses two variable inputs. What would happen if the firm increases both inputs in the same proportion? There are three possibilities. First, a firm has constant returns to scale. A proportional change in both inputs lead to the change in output by the same proportion. That is, doubling of both inputs lead to the doubling of output. Second, a firm has increasing returns to scale. A proportional change in both inputs leads to a greater than proportionate change in output. This means doubling of both inputs lead to the more than doubling of output. And third, a firm has decreasing returns to scale. A proportional change in both inputs lead to a less than proportionate change in output. This means doubling of both inputs leads to less than doubling of output. To demonstrate this principle, let us introduce the Cobb-Douglas production function, one of the most frequently used production function in economics. Q is equals to A into L to the power alpha into K to the power beta. Here, the sum alpha plus beta captures the returns to scale. If alpha plus beta is equals to 1, then there will be constant returns to scale. If alpha plus beta would be greater than 1, then the firms will be experiencing increasing returns to scale. And when A alpha plus beta is less than 1, then there will be decreasing returns to scale. The next is the concept of iso-cost curves. We now explore firms' decision to produce given consideration regarding the cost of inputs. We will see that producers look at relative input prices as they try to find the least cost combination of inputs to produce a given level of output. In this context, the iso-cost line is an important tool to discuss the cost of inputs. Iso-cost line shows all combinations of inputs that may be purchased for a constant level of total expenditure at given input prices. The input prices are assumed to be determined by the equilibrium demand and supply in the input market. It is also assumed that individual firms cannot influence the factor prices and that they simply take the market prices of inputs as given. Suppose the total expenditure on inputs planned by a firm is rupees 4,000 and that the price of 1 unit of labor is rupees 250 and that of capital is rupees 500. The manager of the firm wishes to know all the possible input combinations that can be purchased with this expenditure. Figure 5 shows the ISO cost line for a total expenditure of rupees 4,000, that is C, when the given price of labor, that is wage rate W, is rupees 250 and the price of capital, that is rental R, is rupees 500. Each combination of K and L on the ISO cost line involves a total expenditure of rupees 4,000. Point J shows the total amount of capital that can be purchased with rupees 4,000 when 0 unit of labor is used. It is the maximum amount of capital that can be employed, that is 8 units, which is equals to 4,000 divided by 500. Whereas point B shows the total amount of labor that can be employed when 0 unit of capital is used, that is 16 units, that is 4,000 divided by 250. It is the maximum amount of labor that can be employed with a total expenditure of rupees 4,000. Point M and N also represent the alternate input combinations that can cost rupees 4,000. At point N, where K is equals to 6 and L is equals to 4, units are employed. Similarly, at point N, K is equals to 3 and L is equals to 8 units are employed. This shows that the total expenditure on the two inputs can be represented by the following equation. C is equals to WL plus RK. This is given as equation 4. In the above example, the ISO cost line is given by 4,000 is equals to 250L plus 500K. Therefore, if a fixed amount C star is to be spent, the firm can choose among the combinations given by the straight line. K is equals to C star by R minus W by R into L. This is given as equation 5. This implies with C star, maximum amount of K that can be purchased is given by C star by R and maximum amount of L is C star by W. The slope of the ISO cost line is given by the coefficient of L, that is minus W by R. It is negative of the relative input price ratio. It tells the firm how much capital must be given up if one more unit of labor is purchased. If the total cost incurred by the firms on both inputs, that is C, itself changes, then there is a parallel shift in the ISO cost line. If the expenditure increases from rupees 4,000 to rupees 5,000, then the ISO cost line will shift outward to the right, indicating that more of both inputs can now be purchased. If the cost reduces to rupees 3,000 from rupees 4,000, then the ISO cost line will shift inward as now less of both inputs can be bought. Note that in such cases, the slope of the ISO cost line will not change and there will be a parallel shift as input prices remains unchanged. The next section is a firm's least cost combination of inputs. A firm has to decide upon the profit maximizing combination of inputs or least cost combination of inputs given its total outlay or budget. Suppose the price of inputs are wage rate is equals to rupees 250 and rent is equals to rupees 500. A manager wants to produce 100 units of output. He needs to find the least cost combination of the inputs. Point A on the ISO quant can be produced at a cost of C3 in figure 6. The firm can lower the cost of production by moving down along the ISO quant as output remains the same and purchasing the input combination given by B, which shows a different combination of K and L that can be obtained at lower cost as it lies on a lower ISO cost line C2. However, if the firm tries to still lower the cost further to C1, then this output lever Q is equals to 100 cannot be achieved, since the ISO cost line well above this ISO cost line, indicating that cost of producing at B is higher than C1. Hence, total cost associated with input combination at B is the lowest possible cost of producing 100 units. At point B, the ISO quant is tangent to the ISO cost line. Tangency implies that the slope of both the functions in absolute values are equal. The slope of the ISO quant is given by MRTS of L and K and slope of the ISO cost is given by W by R. So, at B, MRTS for labor and capital is equals to W by R. This is given as equation 5. Hence, to minimize cost, the firm employs that input combination for which MRTS of labor and capital is equals to W by R, which is the least cost combination or profit maximizing condition for a firm given the input prices. There is another way to solve the problem. In many cases, firm has a certain budget, and given this budget, firm chooses the maximum output that can be produced. So, if C is equals to C star is given, the firm needs to find the highest possible ISO quant which is tangent to the ISO cost associated with C star. In the earlier case, we viewed the firm's problem as one of the cost minimization subject to a given output level. In this case, we look at the problem as one of the output maximization for a given level of total cost. In figure 7, if the firm chooses point T, it produces Q1 level of output with LT and KT level of inputs. However, the firm can produce a higher level of output given by Q2 at the same cost of employing a different combination of K and L, that is, by using less labor and more capital. That is, the firm can use LE and KE to produce Q2 level at the same cost as Q1. This is achieved at point E, where the ISO quant and ISO cost line are tangent to each other and the least cost input combination is achieved. Note, a higher output level Q3 cannot be achieved with cost C star. The next section is firm's expansion path. In figure 7 above, we illustrated a single optimum least cost combination for a firm that gave the optimal combination of inputs for a given level of output. Similarly, there exists an optimal combination of inputs for every level of output the firm might choose to produce. In this case, the proportion in which inputs are used might not remain the same. This can be demonstrated using the concept of expansion path. In figure 8, E is the initial cost minimizing equilibrium point of a firm, for example, corresponding to point E in figure 7. If the firm wishes to expand the output and increase its budget, it obtains a new cost minimizing or profit maximizing equilibrium point, that is E dash. Further expansion leads to yet another equilibrium point, E double dash. All the 3 points E, E dash and E double dash are least cost input combinations given by tangency of the ISO cost line to the ISO quant for producing various output levels. Connecting the origin with all 3 points gives us the curve which is known as expansion path. At every point along the expansion path, MRTS of labor and capital is equals to MPL by MPK is equals to W by R. Therefore, the expansion path is the locus of the points along which MRTS is constant and is equals to the input price ratio. It is a curve along which the firm will expand when input prices are constant. Summary. Let us now learn what we have studied in this module. ISO quants are used to study the production decisions with 2 variable inputs. An ISO quant is a downward sloping curve showing all the possible input combinations used to produce a given level of output. A group of ISO quants is known as ISO quant map. The slope of an ISO quant is given by MRTS of labor and capital, which is the rate at which the firm must substitute one input for another in order to keep the output unchanged. MRTS of labor and capital is equals to the ratio of marginal product of labor and capital, that is, the marginal product of the 2 factors of production. Returns to scale refers to the behavior of output when firms change the scale of production by changing all inputs proportionately. Firms can exhibit constant returns to scale or increasing returns to scale or diminishing returns to scale. ISO cost line shows all input combinations that a firm can purchase with a given total outlay at given input prices. firm's least cost combination of inputs to produce a given level of output occurs at point of tangency of the iso-cost line to the iso-quant, where MRTS of labor and capital is equals to W by R, that is the price ratio of the two factors of production. The expansion path is the locus of the point of tangency of iso-cost lines and iso-quants with input prices held constant. It shows the least cost input combination for producing the various levels of outputs.